Hey everybody, my name is James, not to be confused with Jim. I'm a video production specialist here at Broadfield. Normally, I am behind the camera sitting with Adam, either doing graphics or the switching on our TriCaster. Jim Bask is on vacation this week, so we figured that I could step in and host today's show. Um, Good news is, if you couldn't tell, if you were here last week, we're back in our studio, got brand new floors, started painting our walls, put up some padding as well to help with some noise reduction. So very exciting past week that we've been renovating our studio and glad to be back in here. So without further ado, let's just get right into it. Today we thought that we would just go over the fact that, Broadfield is your source for all things storage. And when I say all things, I really mean all things. We're going to go over all the different types of storage that you can get here at Broadfield for you and your clients. Um, First, of course, being if you're going to purchase a camera, um, unless you're using a PTZ camera, you will need to get an SD card or a memory card of some sort. So we're going to talk about on-camera storage. We're going to talk about portable storage for your dailies and things like that with portable SSD drives. Then we're going to talk about, working at your computer or where are you going to edit or archive your footage. So with spinning disk drives or SSD drives. And then lastly, we're going to talk about NAS systems and making a network storage that multiple people can be using at the same time. So let's get right into it. We already talked about memory cards. Memory cards of all shapes and sizes are available at Broadfield. It's pretty simple stuff. If you have a camera, whether it's a DSLR, an SLR, a cine camera, a camcorder, most of the time they're going to have internal recording, and you will need to get either an SD card, micro SD card, a CFast card, CF Express card. Typically, these are going to be relatively small in terms of this amount of storage that you can carry. Usually, they start around 8 or 16 gigabytes, can go all the way up to a terabyte. Some of the newer and even smaller drives can get up, over a terabyte as well. But typically, 128, 256, 512 gigabytes are going to be the most common when it comes to memory cards. The other thing that you're going to need to get if you are going to be using a memory card is a card reader. Typically these are going to be plugged into your computer via USB, whether it's USB-A or USB-C. And basically that makes it so you can offload the storage from your camera directly onto your drive or onto your computer and then onto a drive. Some computers do have an SD card built into them, but if you're using a more specialized card, like a CFast or CF Express card, you probably have to get a card specifically for that. One cool thing about LaCie is some of their drives, if I pick this one up real quick, you can see that there are actually multiple different card readers built into the drive. So you don't actually have to go get a new card reader with this specific one. So that's something to keep in mind. It's just how are you going to offload that data? Now, this is going to be a recurring theme throughout the show. Broadfield is your source for storage. So if you are looking for memory cards or card readers or even desktop drives that have card readers built into them, definitely give your sales rep a call and we will help find the right memory card for the camera that you're using. Specifically, even like Red has, their Red certified cards. OWC has got cards, SanDisk Professional's got cards. So we will help find the right card for you. The next thing that we want to talk about is the portable rugged SSD drives. Typically, these are going to be solid state drives. One of the main reasons is because not only do they have extremely high read and write speeds, but because it is a spinning disk, because it is a solid state drive instead of a spinning disk, there's less moving parts, and that can help with the ruggedability of the drive. again, with them being SSDs, they're going to have typically high read and write speeds, but a lot of the time that ruggedness comes in by, having some form of shock resistance, some form of dust resistance, and some form of water resistance. Different carriers have different levels of um, these resistances, but for the most part, they're all going to have some form of dust, shock, and water resistance. And again, just like with the memory cards, we can help find the right portable rugged SSD drive for you, whether it's OWC, Glyph, SanDisk Professional, LaCie. There is a drive out there, a portable drive out there for every customer. Now, one thing that kind of overarched throughout the entire workflow is SanDisk Professional's ProBlade ecosystem. Now, SanDisk Professional's ProBlade ecosystem doesn't necessarily work with memory cards, but the ProBlade can go all the way from on-camera to a desktop solution. So with the SanDisk Professional, you get, a ProBlade transport and a ProBlade mini mag, and the mini mag is the, kind of the basis of the entire workflow. So on location, when you're using your camera, you can just, connect to some cameras directly to the USB-C, and now your transport is your on-camera recording method, storage. But then at the end of the day, when you go to your dailies and you want to be able to just quickly offload your dailies onto a laptop, you can use that transport as a reader as well to be able to copy the information over to a computer. And then when you get to your actual editing location, there's a couple different things that you can do when it comes to SanDisk. Actually, you can get the Pro Dock, which has 4 SSD mag slots on it. So you can use that kind of as a RAID system, or you can get a SanDisk Mirror or SanDisk project, which we will talk about a little bit later. Basically, the SanDisk project is a desktop spinning disk drive, and then the Mirror is a 2-bay RAID system that you can have set to either be in RAID 0 or RAID 1. Getting a little bit ahead of myself. Speaking of RAID, so we'll get to that in just a minute here. Now, one thing that you're going to want to take into consideration, or have your customers take into consideration when looking at drives on your desk, is going to be the connectivity. USB-A was the standard for the longest time. USB-C seems to be the standard now, with Thunderbolt 3 becoming the standard, I guess you could say. It's becoming more and more popular, but I think at the moment, USB-C is probably still the standard. The biggest takeaway that I have when looking at cables is you're going to have to be, you need to understand that you're going to be limited to the speed of whatever connection point you have. So even if the SanDisk Mirror here comes with the Thunderbolt 3 cable, and on the out of the drive you can have Thunderbolt 3 speeds. If your computer doesn't have a Thunderbolt 3 connection pin, you are going to be limited to the speed of the connection pin on your computer. Most computers that are more than a few years old, those are probably going to have USB type A and be limited to 10 gigabytes a second. Computers that are, a couple of years old, typically those are going to have USB type C connection points where you can go up to 20 gigabytes per second. And then with Thunderbolt, depending on if you have Thunderbolt 3 or 4 on some of the more brand new computers, you can have read and write speeds up to 40 gigabytes per second. But just because your drive can do that doesn't necessarily mean that your computer can. So you're going to want to make sure that your computer can accept those kinds of speeds to get the most out of your drive. So when it comes to desktop drives, there are, again, HDD drives. A spinning disk drive is typically going to be used for archiving and storage, not necessarily for editing off of. These drives are a little bit cheaper typically, but with that being said, because they're cheaper, you can get more storage. And even though they're not really fast enough to edit 4K on, or maybe even 2K, you can probably get away with editing 1080 on them. But you're not going to want to do any, heavy transfer speed requirements on a spinning disk drive. You're going to want to save that for a solid state drive or some kind of RAID system. Speaking of, you can get SSD drives. Typically, SSD drives are going to be a little bit more expensive, but they're going to have a much higher read and write speed. And typically, these are the drives that you're going to want to have your customers editing off of because they have that higher transfer speed. So definitely something to consider when you're looking at storage and desktop storage. Maybe you get a smaller SSD drive that's, 12 terabytes and just enough to be able to edit off of, but then get a spinning disk drive for your archiving that's maybe, 44 terabytes. There are different applications for different types of drives. So that's something you want to keep in mind for the end user. Now, we briefly mentioned this with the SanDisk Professional G-RAID mirror here. What is a RAID system? So basically, a RAID system is putting multiple spinning disk drives into one carrier, I guess you could call it, one housing unit, and then being able to send data to multiple drives at the same time. So this can increase the speed of HDD drives, but more importantly, this gives you more redundancies in place to, if a drive fails, you have some fail-safe features. So let's talk about the four most popular RAID systems. There's RAID 0, RAID 1, RAID 5, and RAID 6. So RAID 0, in its simplest term, is just a 2-bay drive where you have data being split across the two drives. So again, even though a spinning disk drive is slower, but because you're using a higher, faster cable, you can actually use one cable to send that data to two different drives at the same time, and you're splitting the information across the two drives. So you're going to increase your read and write speed, but you will have no redundancies in place, which can be good if you want to edit off of a RAID 0 system. Now, on the complete opposite end of the spectrum is putting a 2-bay RAID into RAID 1. Now, RAID 1, also known as mirroring, is when you put an exact copy of all of the information on disk 1 as you do with disk 2. So this is not going to increase your read or write speed. If anything, it might slowly lower it a little bit, but you get that added benefit of having an exact copy of all of your information. So if one of the drives does fail, you have an exact copy. Now, we're not saying that, drives are failing left and right. They don't. But over the course of, 20, 30 years, somebody is always going to experience at some point a drive will fail, and you want to have those redundancies in place. Next is RAID 5 and RAID 6. RAID 5 is for 4 or more drives. Basically, the way that it works with RAID 5 is you have one drive that has parity on it, so it has redundancies built in place. So if one of the other drives fail, you do have that backup. So essentially, you get one drive's worth of fail-safe in your system. RAID 6 is very similar, except you get 2 drives worth of fail-safe or parity in the system, and that is when you have 5 or more bays in your RAID system. So these are kind of like a hybrid between RAID 0 and RAID 1. You get some redundancies put in place, but it's not a complete fail-safe. If all of the drives fail, you get 1 or 2 drives worth of parity. And again, just like we said with SD cards and card readers and rugged SSD drives, Broadfield is your source for getting any kind of desktop storage, whether it's a spinning disk drive, an SSD drive, or a RAID system. So if you have customers that have questions about any of the desktop storage solutions available here at Broadfield, definitely have them give your Broadfield sales rep a call. Lastly, we want to talk about a NAS system, which stands for Network Area Storage, and that's very similar to how NDI works. You have a central hub that all of the connected devices to can communicate through. And in this case, that would be your NAS system, and being able to have multiple people connected to the NAS system, being able to edit and work on projects, even though they're not, physically connected to it directly to their computer. The storage is on the network, and that makes it much easier for an entire office to work on a single project versus, having to transfer that data to, multiple drives throughout the office. A lot of these NAS systems are starting to come out with, web GUIs, essentially. Just like, again, with NDI, you can control your cameras through the network. With a NAS system, you can control your storage through the network. And these three things here are basically what I thought were some of the more interesting features of a lot of these storage systems. The first one being smart access rules. Basically, this makes it so you can designate who gets access to what files. For example, you don't want the intern necessarily having access to Final Cut videos that you're working on that you're going to be posting, or that last few settings that you want to change on whatever graphic design you're working on. So this will give you control of who gets access to what files. Another thing that kind of piqued my interest, especially working in the video world, is that you can set bandwidth priority for critical workflows. So if, again, that you're going to be editing a high resolution 2K or 4K video, you want to give priority on the network to the people that are going to be accessing those files over, say, somebody, again, working on a graphic design template, because, a PNG file is a relatively small file compared to 4K, uncompressed video. So you can give that priority to the video team or not. And then the other thing is remote client software deployment, which means you no longer have to go right to the system and access a specific port on the NAS system to be able to update it or change any access or anything like that. You can do all of that from any computer that's on the network now, and it also helps with troubleshooting. So these are just some of the a few of the many features that you can get with a lot of these network area storage systems. And again, Broadfield is your source when it comes to network area storage solutions, whether it's Facilis, or Quantum, or Avid. Broadfield has got you covered. So if you do have any questions, give your sales rep a call at 800-634-5178. So just to recap everything that we went over, we have memory cards for on-camera, as well as card readers. We have portable drives, SSD drives that are rugged. We have storage for working at a computer, whether it's a spinning disk drive, a solid state drive, or a RAID system. And then we also have network storage available, again, with Avid, Quantum, and Facilis. So if you have any solutions that need storage, give your sales rep a call and we will help find the right storage solution for you. Lastly, we kind of want to talk about just some of the manufacturers that you can get these specific types of storage from. For external desktop SSDs, Glyph, OWC, LaCie, and SanDisk Professional all have external SSD drives available. And since we're talking about rugged SSD drives, LaCie's rugged SSD drives are now in stock for both the Pro and the standard SSD, rugged SSD drives. You can see the prices there. If you have questions about inventory, give your Broadfield sales rep a call. OWC is now in stock at BDI West. So if you are a reseller out west in California, definitely contact your sales rep about OWC being able to, maybe ship a little bit sooner or easier with you now out west. We talked about this a little bit earlier. SanDisk Professional is offering a bundle right now where if you get either the SanDisk Professional G-RAID mirror or the G-Drive project, and you pair that with 2 or more of the SSD mags, then Broadfield will throw in a transport for free. That is a $49.99 value. So again, that's any SanDisk Professional G-Drive project or G-RAID mirror with any 2 SSD mags. We will give you the transport for no additional cost. And these are the prices and sizing available for all of the SanDisk Professional units on the market. Glyph has the Atom SSD drive in stock in both New York and California, so it doesn't matter where you are throughout the country. This is while supplies last. It is on sale for just $99.95. So whether you're out east or you're on the whether you're out west or on the East Coast, we have these in stock at both warehouses. Broadfield is also your source for Avid Nexus. If you have questions about Avid Nexus, definitely make sure to give your Broadfield sales rep a call. Specifically, Glenn's also a good option considering, his background, and he knows all. And then, of course, if you have questions about larger network storage, give your Broadfield sales rep a call about Facilis, because they have systems starting as low as 32 terabytes all the way up to over 1,000 terabytes worth of network storage. So give your Broadfield sales rep a call if you're building out an entire office that needs to be able to access the storage on the network. And then, as I said a little bit ago with the Glyph drives, we do have storage at both BDI West and our main office here in New York. If there is a specific drive that you want to be stocked out west, because you know that that's something that you want to pick up and you're a dealer out there and you want it to be shipped to you a little bit easier, a little bit faster, give your Broadfield sales rep a call and we can make that happen. So again, my name is James. I'm a video production specialist here at Broadfield. Jim will be back next Thursday, so definitely make sure to tune into that on either our website, broadfield.live, or on LinkedIn. That's 1 o'clock Eastern every Thursday. And I didn't say this earlier, I'm not much of a beer drinker, so I got a Dr. Pepper, and cheers. We'll see you next week.
Broadfield Distributing is a value-added distributor of live production, streaming, video editing, and storage products. We only sell to resellers. We are always looking for new dealers, so call us at 1-800-634-5178 or email sales@broadfield.com. You'll like doing business with Broadfield because we make it easy to do business.